My name is Elise Morgan, and the night I turned 36, I sat alone at a table prepared for 8 people. 7 untouched glasses surrounded me. 7 folded napkins waited on 7 empty plates. In the middle of the table stood a small vanilla cake decorated with pale yellow flowers and 4 carefully piped words. Happy birthday, Elise. I had confirmed the dinner twice. My mother had promised me only the night before that everyone would be there. But at 8:17, nearly 2 hours after the reservation began, I called her and heard music, laughter, and champagne glasses clinking in the background. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, laughing lightly, "surely you understand. Tonight was more important." Behind her, I heard my younger sister cheering. I looked at the empty chairs, the melting candle, and the waiter who had stopped pretending not to notice. Then I took one photograph. I posted it with a single sentence. 6 weeks later, my mother ordered me to apologize in front of 94 guests at her 40th wedding anniversary celebration. I agreed to attend. I even wore the dress she selected for me. But when I walked to the microphone, I carried a sealed envelope she had never seen before, and when I placed it on the table and she saw the brass key inside, the color drained from her face. "Elise," she whispered, "what have you done?" To explain that moment, I need to tell you what my place in the Morgan family had always been. I was the dependable daughter, not the admired one, not the photographed one, not the one whose arrival made people turn their heads. I was the daughter people called when something went wrong. For 13 years, I worked as a respiratory therapist in the neonatal intensive care unit at Willamette Children's Hospital in Portland, Oregon. I spent my nights helping premature babies breathe while terrified parents watched every movement of my hands. That kind of work teaches you to remain calm when other people cannot. It also teaches you to anticipate trouble. In my family, anticipation became my permanent responsibility. I remembered my parents' medical appointments. I renewed my father's vehicle registration. I organized Thanksgiving dinner, ordered birthday cakes, collected money for gifts, and drove my elderly aunt to the pharmacy. When my mother's kitchen flooded, I found the plumber. When my father developed chest pain, I drove him to the emergency department and stayed beside him until morning. When my sister Brooke needed to move apartments, I rented the truck, brought boxes, and cleaned the old place after she left. Everyone described me as so capable. For years, I believed it was a compliment. It took me a long time to understand that capable people are often given more responsibility and less tenderness. My sister Brooke was 3 years younger than me and had always occupied a different position in our family. Brooke was beautiful in a way that made strangers behave more generously. She had thick auburn hair, a perfect smile, and the kind of confidence that looked natural because no one had ever required her to earn it. She worked in luxury real estate and documented nearly every part of her life online. Her coffee had to be photographed before she drank it. A dinner did not count until she had posted the table setting. Even grief seemed to require flattering light. My mother adored it. Mom had spent most of her adult life building the Morgan family into something presentable. She directed church fundraisers, chaired neighborhood committees, and mailed professionally printed Christmas cards to people we barely knew. Our family did not simply celebrate occasions. We staged them. Every event needed coordinated clothing, attractive flowers, and enough photographs to prove that we were happy. Brooke fit perfectly into that world. I did not. My job happened at night, under fluorescent lights, surrounded by machines and frightened families. There was nothing glamorous about holding a breathing mask over a newborn's face at 3 in the morning. My achievements were quiet. Quiet things had little value in my mother's world. One Sunday, about 4 months before my birthday, Brooke arrived at our parents' house carrying a magazine. Her boyfriend, Cameron Wells, had been featured in an article about emerging technology executives in Oregon. Cameron was 37 and ran a medical software company. He was polite, successful, and always appeared to be listening, although his eyes frequently drifted toward whichever person in the room had the most influence. Mom stopped dinner to photograph Brooke holding the magazine beside Cameron. She rearranged the flowers behind them, changed the lighting, and made my father stand on a chair to get a better angle. "Look at our future power couple," she announced. Everyone laughed. Earlier that week, my hospital had recognized me for helping develop a respiratory response protocol that reduced emergency intubations in our unit. The medical director had presented me with an award in front of the entire department. During dinner, I mentioned it. My mother smiled without looking away from Cameron's photograph. "That's lovely, honey. Could you bring the coffee? So I brought the coffee. That was how our family operated. Brooke created the moments. I cleaned up after them. 2 years earlier, my father had suffered a serious heart attack while repairing the fence behind their house. I was the one who recognized the symptoms when he called and complained about indigestion. I told my mother to call an ambulance, then drove directly to the hospital. Dad required emergency surgery. I traded shifts, used 10 vacation days, and spent 6 nights sleeping in a chair beside his bed. After his discharge, I organized his medication, drove him to rehabilitation, and prepared low-sodium meals for my parents' freezer. Brooke visited 3 times. On her first visit, she brought balloons. On her second, she took a photograph of herself holding Dad's hand. The picture received more than 2,000 likes. At church the following Sunday, my mother thanked everyone for their prayers. Then she described how Brooke's positive energy had helped Dad recover. I was standing beside the refreshment table pouring coffee. My name was never mentioned. Dad looked at me from across the room. For a moment, I thought he might correct her. Instead, he lowered his eyes. That was Dad's survival method. My mother controlled the story, and he stayed safely outside it. I told myself his silence did not matter because I knew the truth. But when the same truth is erased often enough, even you begin to question its importance. There was only one person in my childhood who never made me earn affection. My grandmother June, Dad's mother, owned an old cedar cottage near Netarts Bay on the Oregon coast. It sat above the water behind a row of wind-bent trees with blue shutters, a stone fireplace, and a porch that always smelled faintly of salt. Grandma June did not care about photographs. At her cottage, breakfast could be eaten at noon. Shoes were optional. Rain was an excuse to make soup. When I was a child, she taught me to bake blackberry pie and recognize birds by their calls. If I sat quietly beside her, she never asked why I was not more talkative, more cheerful, or more like Brooke. "You don't have to perform here," she once told me. I was 11 years old, but I remembered the sentence for the rest of my life. When Grandma June died 7 years ago, she left the cottage in a family trust. My mother, Diane, was appointed trustee because everyone considered her organized and responsible. During the first winter, a property tax notice arrived at my parents' house. Mom ignored it. By spring, the account was delinquent and the county had begun issuing warnings. I discovered the problem while helping Dad sort paperwork. I paid the balance that afternoon. Mom thanked me distractedly and said she would reimburse me. She never did. The next year, another notice came. I paid that one too. Eventually, I stopped waiting for anyone to ask. For 7 years, I quietly paid the property taxes and basic insurance on Grandma June's cottage. It cost several $1,000s annually, but I could not bear the thought of losing the only place where I had ever felt loved without conditions. I kept the cottage key on my ring between my apartment key and my hospital badge. Sometimes during a difficult shift, I touched it with my thumb. It reminded me that somewhere in the world there was still a door I could open. Then came my 36th birthday. I had spent most of my adult life organizing other people's celebrations, so I decided to plan one dinner for myself, nothing extravagant. I reserved a round table at Bellwether House, a historic restaurant overlooking the Willamette River. Grandma June had taken me there after my nursing school graduation because my parents had left the ceremony early to attend Brooke's dance recital. I invited my parents, Brooke and Cameron, my Aunt Rachel, my Uncle Peter, and my closest friend, Nadia, from the hospital, 8 people, including me. The reservation was for 6:30 on a Saturday evening. I ordered a small cake from a local bakery. I chose vanilla with blackberry filling because it reminded me of Grandma June. I even printed small place cards. It sounds foolish now, but those cards made me happy. For once, I would not be standing in the kitchen or checking whether everyone had enough ice. For once, I would sit down and let people arrive for me. 3 days before the dinner, Brooke became strangely quiet in our family group chat. She normally answered every message within minutes, especially when the subject involved her. My confirmation received only a heart emoji. Mom began ending phone calls quickly. I knew Cameron's parents were visiting Portland, but Brooke had said they were coming for business. Something felt wrong. On Friday evening, I called my mother. "Tomorrow is still confirmed, right?" "Of course it is," she said. "Why wouldn't it be?" Brooke hasn't really answered. "Elise, stop worrying. We'll all be there. Just enjoy your birthday." I believed her because I wanted to. At 6:10 the following evening, I arrived at Bellwether House wearing a dark green dress Nadia had persuaded me to buy. The table looked beautiful. The place card stood beside the glasses. A candle flickered near the window and the river reflected the city lights. At 6:30 I was still alone. At 6:45 I texted the group, "The table is ready. I'm by the east window." My mother read the message. Brooke read it, neither replied. At 7, the waiter asked whether I wanted to order a drink while I waited. At 7:20, he brought bread I had not requested. At 7:35, Nadia called. A respiratory emergency had delayed her at the hospital. She apologized so many times that I had to calm her down. "Where's everyone else?" she asked. "They're probably on their way." Even as I said it, I knew it was not true. At 8, the waiter brought out my cake. He looked embarrassed when he noticed the 8 forks prepared by the kitchen. "Would you like me to take some of these away?" he asked gently. I stared at the empty chairs. "No, leave them." At 8:17, I called my mother. She answered after 4 rings. Music pulsed in the background. Someone shouted a toast. I heard Brooke laughing. "Mom, where are you?" There was a pause, followed by a soft laugh. "Oh, sweetheart, I assumed someone told you." "Told me what?" "Cameron proposed to Brooke on Thursday. His parents are leaving tomorrow, so we arranged an engagement celebration at the Harrington Club." I looked at Brooke's empty place card. "You arranged it tonight?" "It was the only evening that worked." "But you promised me yesterday that you were coming." Mom sighed. "Elise, please don't make this difficult. Your birthday happens every year. Your sister will only become engaged once. You could have told me. We were afraid you'd react exactly like this." "Like what?" "Make the evening about you." For several seconds, I could not speak. I was sitting beside a cake carrying my name, at a dinner I had planned for my birthday, and my mother was accusing me of making the evening about myself. "Is everyone there?" I asked. Another pause. "Yes." "Aunt Rachel and Uncle Peter too?" "Of course. They're family." The words entered me without drama, no shouting, no tears, just a clean, cold understanding. Everyone had received a message except me. Everyone had chosen the other table. My mother continued speaking, but I was no longer listening. Finally, I said, "I understand." Then I ended the call. The waiter came toward me, but I lifted one hand. Before he cleared anything, I stood and photographed the table. 7 empty chairs. 7 untouched place settings. A candle burning beside a cake that said, "Happy birthday, Elise." I paid the bill, boxed the cake, and tipped the waiter. Outside, rain had begun falling over Portland. I stood under the restaurant awning with the cake in my hands and opened my phone. Normally, I did not post personal things online. That night, I uploaded the photograph. My caption contained only one sentence. "Sometimes an empty chair tells the truth more clearly than the person who promised to fill it." Then I turned off my phone. Nadia refused to let me go home. By 10 o'clock, I was in her apartment surrounded by 6 hospital colleagues, 2 neighbors and Nadia's teenage son, who had decorated the living room with emergency Christmas lights. They had assembled the celebration in less than 90 minutes. Someone brought pizza. Someone else brought flowers from a 24-hour grocery store. Nadia placed my bellwether cake on her kitchen counter, and they sang so loudly that the upstairs neighbor began stamping on the floor. I laughed until I cried. Not one person there was related to me. Every person had come. The next morning, my photograph had been shared hundreds of times. People I barely knew left messages beneath it. Some wrote about weddings their parents had missed. Others described graduations, hospital rooms, and birthdays spent waiting for people who never arrived. I never named my family. I never mentioned Brooke's engagement, but the family photographs told the rest of the story. Brooke had already posted dozens of images from the Harrington Club. My parents' aunt and uncle were clearly visible in them. The timelines matched. By noon, people had worked it out. My mother called 11 times. Then she came to my apartment with Dad and pounded on the door. When I opened it, she pushed past me without waiting to be invited. "What were you thinking?" she demanded. Dad remained near the doorway. "I posted a photograph of my birthday dinner. You humiliated your sister." "I didn't mention her. You knew people would understand." "I posted an empty table. You're angry because it was accurate." Mom's face tightened. "Take it down." "No. Elise, this family has a reputation. That reputation survived leaving me alone on my birthday. It can survive a photograph." Dad whispered my name in warning. It was the first thing he had said. I looked at him. "Did you know I was waiting?" His expression answered before his mouth did. "Your mother said she would handle it. Did you believe she had told me?" He glanced at Mom. "I didn't ask. That hurt more than I expected." Mom crossed her arms. "You're jealous because your sister is getting married." "No. I'm finished pretending that being useful to you means I'm loved by you. You are being dramatic. Then this should be easy. Leave. For the first time in my life, I asked my parents to leave my home. Mom stared at me as if the furniture had spoken. Before walking out, she said, "You will regret this when you realize how much this family has done for you." After they left, I removed myself from the family group chat. Then I stopped doing everything. I did not remind Dad about his cardiology appointment. I did not order Aunt Rachel's anniversary flowers. When Mom's charity luncheon needed additional volunteers, I did not rearrange my hospital schedule. When Brooke asked for help comparing wedding venues, I replied that I was unavailable. The consequences arrived almost immediately. Dad missed an appointment. Mom forgot to renew a policy. Brooke lost a deposit because she had misunderstood a contract deadline. For years, my invisible work had made the family appear organized. Once I stopped, the machinery began making noise. 3 weeks after my birthday, Brooke came to my apartment. She stood in the hallway wearing oversized sunglasses despite the rain. "Mom says you're trying to destroy the family." I stopped managing it. "That isn't the same thing. She wants you at the wedding." "Does she?" Brooke removed her sunglasses. "She wants everything to look normal." There it was, not reconciliation. Presentation. Brooke sat at my kitchen table and looked around as if she had never truly seen where I lived. "Did you really sit there for 2 hours?" "Yes." "Mom told us the dinner had been postponed." "Did you ask me?" "No." "Why not?" She looked down. "Because it was convenient not to." It was the most honest thing Brooke had ever said to me. She explained that our parents' 40th anniversary celebration was 6 weeks away. Mom had invited 94 guests to the Portland Heritage Ballroom. During the program, I was expected to make a short speech. "You can say there was a misunderstanding," Brooke said. "Tell everyone emotions were high. Say family matters more than social media. So she wants me to apologize." "Not exactly. She wants me to apologize without using the word." Brooke rubbed her forehead. "Just give her the moment, Elise. Then this can end." "What do I receive?" "Your family back." I nearly laughed. The phrase assumed I had possessed one before. 2 days later, a certified letter arrived from an attorney representing the June Morgan Family Trust. The letter stated that the trustee, Diane Morgan, was considering selling the Netterts Bay cottage because of ongoing administrative and maintenance burdens. It also stated that payments voluntarily made by another party did not create ownership rights or legal interest in the property. I read it 3 times. My mother knew I had paid the taxes. She had always known. Now she's using the cottage to force me back into position. I consulted an attorney named Priya Shah. She reviewed the trust documents and explained that my mother possessed broad authority as trustee. "Can I stop the sale?" "You might delay it," she said. "But based on these documents, stopping it permanently would be difficult and expensive." "What about the taxes I paid?" "You may attempt to recover some expenses, but the payments do not make you an owner." The cottage key felt heavy in my pocket. For 7 years, I believed my payments were protecting Grandma June's home. Legally, they had purchased nothing. Emotionally, they had purchased my mother a weapon. That night, Mom texted me, "Come to the anniversary. Say a few sincere words, and we can put this ugliness behind us. Your father misses you. Brooke needs her sister, and I know how much June's cottage means to you. It would be tragic if it left the family." The threat was wrapped in concern, but it was still a threat. I opened my laptop and wrote the speech she wanted. I thanked my parents for their sacrifices. I described the birthday as a misunderstanding. I apologized for allowing private pain to become public. The words sounded polished and generous. They also sounded completely false. For 2 days, I considered delivering them. Then, during a night shift, I watched a young father sit beside his premature daughter's incubator for 7 hours. No one photographed him. No one praised him. He simply kept one hand against the glass so his baby would see it if she opened her eyes. At 4 in the morning, he asked me, "Do you think she knows I'm here?" "Yes," I said. Showing up matters. The words stopped me. Showing up mattered. My mother had repeated a similar phrase throughout my childhood. We show up where it counts, but she had always decided what counted. Photographs counted. Reputation counted. Brooke's engagement counted. My birthday did not. Grandma June had understood something different. Love did not require a stage. It counted even when nobody was watching. I deleted the apology. Then I removed the cottage key from my key ring. The brass had grown smooth from years beneath my thumb. I placed it in an envelope with copies of 7 years of property tax receipts, insurance payments, and maintenance invoices. On the front, I wrote my mother's name. The anniversary celebration was held on a Saturday evening in the Portland Heritage Ballroom. My mother had transformed the room into a museum of the Morgan marriage. Gold candles lined the tables. A string quartet played beside an enormous floral arrangement. Photographs from 4 decades were projected onto a screen. Brooke appeared in nearly every section. I appeared occasionally, usually at the edge of a group, carrying something. A printed program rested at each place: dinner, tributes, family reflections, a few words from our daughter Elise, cake and dancing. My surrender had been scheduled between the speeches and dessert. Mom approached me before dinner and adjusted the sleeve of the blue dress she had insisted I wear. "I'm glad you came to your senses," she whispered. "I came to say what I needed to say." She smiled. "That's all I've ever wanted. Dad found me near the bar." "You look beautiful," he said. "Thank you." He looked toward my clutch. "Is your speech in there?" Something like that. His face changed slightly. "Elise, please don't make tonight worse." "For whom?" He had no answer. After dinner, Brooke gave a warm speech about lasting love. Aunt Rachel spoke about loyalty. Cameron praised my parents for raising 2 remarkable daughters, although he barely looked at me. Then Mom took the microphone. She thanked the guests and described marriage as an act of choosing family again and again. "This year," she said, "our family experienced a painful misunderstanding. But I taught my daughters that real love always finds its way home." She extended one hand toward me. "Elise has something she would like to share." 94 faces turned in my direction. I stood. My legs were steady. I walked to the front, carrying my clutch. Mom kissed my cheek as she handed me the microphone. "Make it heartfelt," she whispered. I faced the guests. "Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad. 40 years together is an achievement, and I sincerely honor it." My mother relaxed. "Most of you have known our family for many years. You know my mother believes we should show up where it counts." I believe that too. The room became quiet. 7 years ago, after my grandmother June died, the property taxes on her coastal cottage went unpaid. The county issued a delinquency warning. I paid the balance because I couldn't bear to lose the one place where I had always felt welcome. Mom's smile disappeared. I continued paying those taxes for 7 years. I also paid the insurance and several maintenance expenses. I never announced it because I believed love did not require recognition. I opened my clutch.
"Elise," Mom said quietly.
I placed the envelope on the table beside the anniversary cake. The brass key slid partly into view. My mother stared at it. "Elise," she whispered again. "What have you done?" "The taxes are paid through the end of this year. The receipts are inside, along with the cottage key." A murmur moved across the ballroom. "After December, the cottage is entirely your responsibility. You can keep it, sell it, or turn it into another story in which you are the injured person. I no longer need to control that." Mom's face had gone pale. "This is not the speech we discussed." "No, it isn't." I turned back toward the guests. 6 weeks ago, my family left me alone at a birthday table set for 8 because my sister's engagement was considered more important. When I posted a photograph of those empty chairs, my mother did not apologize. She demanded that I remove the evidence. Brooke lowered her eyes. "My entire life, I believed that if I worked hard enough, remembered enough, and sacrificed enough, I would eventually earn a permanent place in this family." I looked directly at my mother. "But love that must be earned through obedience is not love. It is employment." No one moved. "I have worked for this family for 36 years. Tonight, I am resigning." Mom reached for the microphone. I stepped back. "I'm not saying this to destroy an anniversary. I'm saying it because I was invited here to speak from the heart, and this is the first time my heart has been allowed into the program." I placed the microphone carefully in its stand. "Congratulations on 40 years. I truly hope the next 40 contain more honesty than the first." Then I walked away. Behind me, Mom's voice cracked through the silence. "After everything we have done for you." Before I reached the doors, another voice answered. "Diane, enough." It was my father. I turned. Dad stood beside the bar, one hand gripping the back of a chair. For the first time I could remember, he had contradicted her publicly. Mom stared at him. The ballroom doors closed behind me before either of them spoke again. My hands began shaking in the parking lot. I stood beside my car, breathing cold night air, when the ballroom doors opened. Brooke came running toward me, holding her shoes in one hand and a wooden box in the other. She stopped a few feet away. "Mom has been preparing the cottage for sale," she said. A real estate agent photographed it last week. I nodded. I assumed she would. She was throwing this away. Brooke handed me the box. It was Grandma June's recipe collection. Her handwriting covered dozens of stained cards. Blackberry pie, clam chowder, lemon bread, winter soup. My throat tightened. I took it from the donation pile, Brooke said. I should have given it to you sooner. Thank you. She looked back toward the ballroom. What you said about employment. Yes, I think I've been working there too. My job just came with better benefits. For a moment, she looked less like my favored sister and more like a frightened child who had finally noticed the walls around her. You can leave too, I said. I don't know if I can. You can. But I can't do it for you. She nodded. That was the difference between the old Elise and the woman standing in that parking lot. The old Elise would have taken responsibility for saving her. I drove home with Grandma June's recipe box on the passenger seat. The cottage sold 4 months later to a family with 2 children and an elderly dog. I cried when I heard, but the grief felt clean. I was mourning a real place instead of bargaining with a memory. My mother and I did not speak for nearly a year. She told people I had suffered an emotional breakdown at the anniversary celebration, but too many witnesses had heard my calm voice. Her version never fully took hold. Dad began calling me from his garage on Sunday mornings. Our conversations were short at first. He apologized once, without excuses. I saw what she was doing, he said. I convinced myself staying quiet kept the peace. It kept you safe, I replied. It didn't keep the peace. I know. Brooke married Cameron the following spring. I did not attend the wedding. She sent me a message before walking down the aisle. I wish things were different, I answered honestly. So do I. 9 months later, she called and asked if we could meet without Mom. Our relationship did not repair itself instantly, but for the first time, we began speaking without a family script between us. On my 37th birthday, I did not reserve a restaurant. Nadia organized a dinner in my backyard. My colleagues brought food, my neighbor brought folding chairs, and Dad arrived carrying a blackberry pie he had baked from Grandma June's recipe. The crust was uneven. The filling leaked down one side. It was perfect. At sunset, I looked around the long wooden table. Every chair was occupied. No one had been reminded twice. No one had been threatened. No one had come for appearances. They were simply there. Nadia raised her glass. To Elise, she said. The woman who finally learned that she doesn't have to earn her chair. Everyone lifted their glasses. Someone took a photograph, but I never posted it. I did not need evidence. An empty table had once shown me the truth about the family I was born into. A full one showed me the truth about the family I had built, and this time, when I looked at every face around me, I understood something Grandma June had tried to teach me long ago. The right people do not make you compete for a place in their lives. They do not use love as payment, property as leverage, or silence as punishment. They do not merely tell you that you matter. They show up, and where real love exists, no one has to earn a seat.